My name's Nick Drum, the viticulturist with the Yalumba Nursery. We're standing here in the beautiful Mornington Peninsula, beautiful blue sky day. We're in amongst some MV6 vines in a replicated trial, rootstock trial. There's 15 rootstocks in this trial. We've got a panel here with 3 different rootstocks. So we've got a newer rootstock, Merbean 5489 here. We have 10114, which is I guess a widely planted rootstock of the region. And then over here we have own rooted vines. So you can see some differences between them. It's important to recognise these own rooted vines were planted a little bit later than the other two, so there is a little bit of difference with establishment. But if you look at the sort of general vigour across the vines in the more mature 10114, what I see is a little bit more shoot vigour over here. The 10114 was just a little bit on the slightly lower vigour side compared, and there was some quite similar performances from what we could observe at this early stage between the 5489 and the 10114. As we head further back, we can see more of the rootstocks, and I would say from this very early stage in the trial that the rootstocks are performing generally how we would expect them to. It's very important to have rootstock trials within a region. We know from experience that rootstock performance is specific to sites. So I guess we know that it's not always possible to have a rootstock trial at your own vineyard. So the next best thing is to have regional trials like this one, preferably replicated across a couple of sites, which has occurred in this instance. So what it allows the growers and winemakers to do is come out and see firsthand and compare and contrast performance between rootstocks. Ultimately it's probably about giving confidence and I guess that degree of comfortableness for winemakers and growers to select a rootstock appropriate for their site. Like most things in horticulture, there is a long-term commitment required. So this trial was being discussed, I'm thinking probably 3 to 4 years ago. Obviously vines were propagated, they go on the ground, and from this point data collection will only really begin in the next 2 or 3 years once the vines are properly established. So by the time results are published, we're probably looking at an 8 to 10 year process. So it does take a lot of planning and it does take a lot of commitment, but at the end of the day it's important. It's hugely important because we end up with some good regionally specific information on rootstock performance. More than anything, it's just having the I guess there's a greater wealth of information on which we can rely on to make good decisions. And going forward, I guess there's just a few more rootstocks available to us, and people are experimenting a little bit more with some of the local rootstocks like the Merbean rootstocks that we've got here in this trial. So you always need to be a little bit careful at this early stage in making comparisons, but look, from what I can observe here, we've got rootstock 5512 here, and we've got 3309 onto my right hand side, your left. And what I can see is just slightly lower shoot vigour with the 5512 compared to the 3309. There seems to be a bit more extension in the shoot length and a little bit more thickness in the shoots. But the other thing which I think is noticeable is in the bunch size. So I snapped off randomly a bunch from the 5512 and a bunch from the 3309. So there's a little bit more extension in the 3309 compared to the 5512, and it would just appear that typically on each of these shoots you can see 2 to 3 bunches, more likely 3, whereas on the 3309 they're typically 2 bunches. So you've got one rootstock with less plentiful but larger bunches, and then we have another rootstock with smaller bunches but seemingly more plentiful. So we've got 1, 2, 3 bunches on there, and then doesn't make a liar of me, the first one I choose, so that's good. So then we've got the 1, 2 bunches per shoot there. So it's great to see the vines that we've supplied performing so well. Look, I think this is a fantastic initiative by the Mornington Peninsula Vignerons Association, and look, I look forward to coming back in a few years' time to, I guess, take some further observations and hopefully try some trial wines, because at the end of the day, it's what goes into the glass that's most important.